It's U of L Today on 93.9 The Phil. Here's your host, Mark Hebert.
And welcome to U of L Today with Mark Hebert on 93.9 The Phil. Hope you'll stick around for the next 30 minutes or so as we talk about some things going on at the University of Louisville. If you've not been joining us before, we talk about research, we talk about students and academics and all sorts of good stuff going on at the University of Louisville. So, on the show today, the safety of its students is obviously a top priority of U of L. U of L police have a number of safety initiatives for students, and Major Erin will be here to talk about that. We'll also talk with a U of L student who's had a globe-trotting college career as a McConnell Scholar, and you'll get to meet him. But first, college students seem to be particularly interested in doing community service work these days, and the students at the University of Louisville are no exception. Pam Curtiss is the director of the Student Civic Engagement and Service Department, and Erin Burke is a student and officer on the Engage, Lead, Serve board. That's a mouthful, ladies. You know that? That is a mouthful. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk. Erin, what is Engage, Lead, Serve board? ELSB, as you call it. What is that?
So the Engage Lead Serve Board, we're the service branch of student government. So what we basically do is we do different service opportunities once a month for a variety of different social issues, and we also do educational events. So some things that we do is like we go to animal shelters, we go to women's centers, or we like go to Jefferson Memorial Forest and like clear trails. That's what we do off campus, but like on campus we have like different events. So we have one coming up. It's actually on the 7th. It's a nerve documentary and teaches you about the different chemical weapons that people use and like how a small town in Kentucky we're kind of like combating those issues.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get back to some of the stuff you guys do here in a minute.
Right.
Pam, what do you do? You're the director of Student Civic Engagement and Service. What's that mean?
There's a lot to that, and a lot.
Yeah, it's a big title. I know.
Right,
there must be a lot to that, right?
Yeah, and it's a really wonderful job to have. I feel really fortunate to get to work with students like Erin every day that really are committed to their own leadership, developing their leadership skills. We provide a number of different leadership opportunities, starting from freshman year. We have programs like Freshman Lead and Task Force Freshman. We're in the process of selecting the cohort for the coming year this week. So we'll be excited to have those almost 75 students with us for the next 6 months or so. We'll be working on their leadership. We also work very closely with Engage, Lead, Serve Board. Many of the programs we do, like Soul, MLK Day, are sponsored by and led by the students, and we work with them to support their efforts in offering those opportunities. And additionally, we have started a board of students that are interested in domestic service trips, so going to different locations in the country and providing service. We've been to Baltimore and North Carolina and a variety of other places over the years.
How long have you been at U of L?
This is my 31st year here.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I knew it'd been a while. What have you seen, or has there been a change in students wanting to do more community service and more leadership development over the years? It seems to me they have, but I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, I do feel like there has been an increase in an interest in that. I think that's somewhat due to the nature of this generation. I think they've been encouraged and given a lot of opportunities as they've been coming up through elementary and middle and high school. And so they come to U of L now more than ever expecting that those opportunities are available to them. It's really not very hard for us to promote a program like Freshman Lead or Task Force Freshman because those students are looking for those opportunities. We had 197 students apply, and that application was due in the first week of the semester. So to have that many students know right off the bat that they really care about getting involved in something like this, I think that's a really good sign. And it's been a popular program for a long time, but the fact that it's maintained the popularity is really important. I also think that the thing I feel like has changed about students' interest in service is that for a while it was an expectation that, well, I'm supposed to do this, but I don't really know why. What I feel like has changed is that there is a sense of community that students come here looking for, and service is a way for them to find that. Right. And Erin and I, in fact, were talking a little bit about that on our way here, but I think they care about issues more than I've noticed even 5 years ago.
Right. We're talking with Pam Curtiss, the Director of Student Civic Engagement and Service at U of L, and Erin Burke, who's a student and officer on the Engage Lead Serve Board. Erin, what are some of the projects that students the ELSB board, as you call it. What are some of the projects that you work on out in the community? You talked about some of the things you do that are sort of have a political tint to them, but isn't there some other stuff you guys do out in the community?
Yeah, so the main thing that we do is we partner with a community partner, which are all basically nonprofits. So I was also like on the animal welfare committee, and so one that we did that we still continue to do is actually go out to the animal shelters and make like dog treats for dogs so they don't go kennel crazy while they're getting ready to be adopted, which is something not that political, so like anyone can do it.
It's not, no.
Right, like who doesn't like dogs? But we also have events or like community service opportunities at like Backside, helping with the Latino population, especially during Derby season, and trying to helps like their children and the people like kind of come to Louisville like as a community and show that they do have a place here.
Kind of serve as babysitters and help with their kids? Is that kind of what you do with the summer programs, that kind of stuff?
It's not really a summer program. It's more like doing crafts or like just hanging out or like organizing their cabinets or helping clean. Whatever they need is what we do.
I gotcha. And then you had what you call, Pam, Soul, the first week of school, actually orientation week, welcome week for school.
Week, yeah.
Tell us about that, because that's a really good project, and it's aimed at the incoming freshmen. What is it?
It's basically just a day of service. We go and we have people come in that talk. So like this year we had Mayor Greg Fisher and the Dean of Students, Dean Martis, come in, and Dr. Post also. They all came in, talked to us, showed like what it actually means to be at UofL and in the Louisville community and how we should give back. And we kind of like start the day off like that to teach students why they need youth service and why we at UofL think it's super important. And then after that, we go out to different sites and we do whatever service project they need. So I'm kind of.
So some of the things you did on that day, where you were out picking up trash over in Shelby Park.
Yes.
Exactly.
What were some of the others that you
Some
did, Pam?
work in the Oakdale neighborhood. We had a group at Harbor House working with some of the clients there, had a party and helped them organize some of their closets. As well, we had a group every year. We have a great partnership with Fairness Campaign, and a group went out there to help with some of the lobbying work that they do and get some of their mailers together. Colon Cancer Project is another great partner that we work with regularly. A number of options.
And Erin, what have you learned as a student from the Engaged Lead Serve Board and being a board member?
Right. What I've definitely learned is like how to be an effective leader and how to do community service well, because there's a difference between going into your community with the expectation, I'm going to help this community because I think they need it, versus going to the community and saying, what do you need that I can provide?
Right.
And that's something that I've definitely learned over the past 3 years.
Yeah.
And have most students come around to that as well, instead of forcing themselves on a certain community, asking that question?
Yeah.
Hey, what can we do? Like on the backside, we need some stuff for our kids to do while the hot walkers and others were out there working, right?
Yeah.
So is that what happens, Pam?
I think that over time that would be the goal, that we get to that point. I think a great example of that happening right now in real life is there's people that want to help with the hurricane relief. And what is it that folks really need in Houston, and what folks think that they need are very different things. And so the Engaged Lead Serve Board is trying to take the lead on educating folks with a statement that's going to come out in the next day or so about ways that really could be helpful to the people in Houston.
All right, one more question I forgot to ask. Any idea how many students participate in some sort of community service out of the 22,000 students that are currently at UofL?
Yeah, actually, I do have some numbers that our amazing partner with the Community Engagement Office shared with me, that in the last 2 years we've had 3,300 students provide service in some way, and that totaled 22,800 hours of service over 2 years. So I think that's pretty remarkable.
That's a lot of time our students are spending out in the community.
Yeah, definitely.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay. Well, congratulations to you, Erin. You're going to be coming to work for me here soon,
Yes.
aren't you?
Yep. Yes, I am.
Looking forward to having you. Every college campus is concerned about the safety of its students, and UofL, of course, is no exception. Major Erin Graham from the University of Louisville Police Department is here to talk about some of the initiatives on campus to keep everyone in the UofL family safe. Good to see you, Erin. How you doing?
Good morning. Good to see you again.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on campus. And I think the first thing folks want to hear from ULPD, if you're a parent or anybody else getting ready to send your kid to college, is, all right, What is my kid going to find when they get on the U of L campus in terms of safety? What are they going to find?
Well,
Big picture.
Big picture, what we try to tell the parents all through the orientation phase is that this is one of the safest campuses that you're going to find not only in Kentucky but throughout the country. And this has kind of been verified through various online, basically aggregate companies that have basically listed the University of Louisville as being one of the safest campuses in the country.
They're the ones that track how many violent crimes you have and those kinds of things over the years, right? Isn't it?
That's right. It's a combination of the statistics that we actually provide to the general public on a yearly basis, and then also some interviews with students, faculty, and staff so that they can actually create a better picture in terms of the safety of the campus itself.
All right, freshmen show up for orientation. What do you go tell them? You actually mingle with these kids, don't you?
I mingle with both the students and the parents. Of course, we put a lot of emphasis on the parents because
they're moms the one asking all the
ones that
questions,
actually control the future of the students here. So
Right.
we make sure that they get as much information as they can, and they actually serve as our auxiliary to get more information to the students, even though we do talk to them.
So what do you tell them? What do you tell the students?
Well, we tell the students that, for the first time, that they're going to be responsible for a lot of the decisions that they do make on campus. And part of that is going to be the decisions in terms of how they keep themselves safe. Mm-hmm. And what we try to do from there is provide them, or at least give them the information in terms of who you need to contact, who are the resources that are available to you, and then provide them with various tools that they can utilize, again, to keep themselves safe.
How many officers does UofL Police Department have, ballpark?
Our current authorized strength is 46.
That's a big police department for
It's
campus.
one of the largest departments in the county right now. We're right up there within at least the top 5.
Okay, and you guys patrol and service the Shelby campus, downtown campus, and Belknap campus, right?
That's correct. All 3 campuses, and then we also we do some patrols to some of the auxiliary buildings that are just a little bit outside. So, for instance, the art gallery that's downtown on Main Street, that is a U of L facility, so we actually provide service there. We do patrol through the Nexus Center as well.
What's the Nexus Center?
Nexus Center is a medical, it's part of the medical campus.
On the Health Sciences campus?
Correct.
Okay. And the footprint for U of L Police on the Belknap campus, there's been a lot of questions about that. What do U of L Police cover, and what does Louisville Police cover, and what's your relationship?
Well, first of all, our relationship with Louisville Metro is tied. We're tied at the hip, man. Actually, more than tied at the hip. The key thing is what we always make sure that we tell the students, and we tell the parents in particular, is that our communication system is identical. We're actually tied into MetroSafe. Our in-car computers are tied to Louisville Police, so we're actually able to see and hear everything that the other agency is doing at the same time. And because of that relationship, there's a lot of interplay in terms of what we do. Now, as far as jurisdiction is concerned, we deal primarily with those areas where we have our actual controlled buildings. And then anything else Metro will kind of come in on basically on the outskirts. But those lines kind of blur because at any given time, Metro can respond here as well. But if they do, they generally let us know, or try to let us know as best they possibly can.
So it's kind of whoever gets there first. If there's something on 4th Street, which is not actually within the boundaries of campus, is it kind of a deal? Whoever gets the 911 call, U of L shows up, or
If it's
Louisville Police?
if it's a general 911 call, it's going to come into Metro. But then at the same time, it's generally going to be relayed back to us. So in that case, you're going to get a dual response.
Gotcha. So you have ULPD and LMPD.
And
showing up.
LMPD.
I got you. All right. We're talking to Major Erin Graham from the U of L Police Department. We're talking about safety on the U of L campus. And when you're talking about the off-campus housing, which is sort of what we got into there, how does that work? That, these different places that are privately owned, privately run, privately managed, but they house U of L students, and they're sort of around the periphery of campus. How does that work on protecting those students and responding to calls from those students?
That's what we refer to as our affiliate housing. And that includes Province, Cardinaltown, University Point is a new one that just came online, Clubhouse, and the Arch. And what all of those facilities or business entities, if you want to call them that, what they do is they contract with the University Police Department to provide service. So essentially, we are their number one law enforcement agent that they will deal with.
Okay, so
through contract.
they call you through. They call UofL
They call
basically.
us.
Okay.
They call UofL basically.
Okay.
So if anything does occur, we track everything that occurs on those properties, and we take all the reports and deal with any instances of crime or any other issues that may occur.
There were some initiatives that were put in place, I guess last year, maybe the L Trail, maybe 2 years ago, something like that. What were some of the initiatives in recent years that UofL's kind of put in to provide a safe haven and perhaps make the students feel that they are safe on their own campus?
Well, there are a number of things that we've done. 2 years ago, you were right, we actually started the L Trail. What the L Trail was essentially a safe corridor with enhanced lighting that would run through the center of campus. In the past year, we've actually enhanced that, so the L Trail actually begins here at 4th Street and goes through the center of campus all the way to Eastern Parkway to the Speed Complex as well. And we've actually expanded that even wider so it encompasses a larger portion of the central campus. The other thing that we've done is essentially advocated and pushed the usage of apps. And these are some of the tools that I was referring to earlier that we try to introduce the students to. One of the key ones that we introduced was called the Rave Guardian app. And essentially that is just a tool bag with information and interactive communication with the university police.
And initially, we were struggling to get students to sign up for that. Even this app had all this information. They're on their phones, 24 hours a day. So what have you done to try and get more kids to sign up for and to get the app?
Again, we went to the true power source, and that would be the parents.
The money source and the power source?
So we made sure that the parents understood that these tools were available, and we were encouraging them to use these tools or at least download these tools. And so we went into more or less it was a team effort. So it was a joint effort by the university police, the dean of students office, and student affairs, so that we made sure that everyone got this information in every forum that we would have an opportunity to speak.
Talking with Major Erin Graham from the UofL Police Department. When we're talking about notifications, there's been some dispute, I guess, about when, or some conversation at least, about when UofL should send out notifications when there's a crime committed. I mean, there's virtually no crime on campus, but in these areas, 2-3 blocks away, if there's a robbery or something, how do you decide whether to send out a notification through email and through text and otherwise to students, faculty, and staff in those areas? What decides that?
Essentially, some of that is actually dictated by our federal compliance with the Clery Act. So anything that occurs on campus, if it fits within the 7 major crime categories that we report, that is automatically going to be sent out for the most part, especially the violent crimes. So we're talking sexual assault, robbery, and even aggravated assault. When we get to those areas where it's a little bit hairy whether or not this is UofL jurisdiction or not, we err on the side of whether it's one of the crimes that we actually were going to report or we would report if it had occurred on campus, if it's a violent crime, and what is the impact on the campus itself. Is that particular act on that area, is it going to have some type of impact? So in effect, does that mean is that threat
Does it still exist?
Does
Is
the
there
threat
still a
exist,
threat?
and is it coming towards our campus
Right.
where it's going to affect our students? The other part of that is to determine in an area, some of those areas is whether or not we have a high concentration of students who don't reside on campus but may be using that area. So we make sure that we send that out as well.
So if there's a sexual assault reported off campus, say 3 or 4 blocks, UofL police investigate, but they didn't find out about it until 2 hours after the sexual assault happened, would that you presumably would not send out an alert, right? Because there's no threat.
There would be no
perceived
immediate
threat.
need. There would be no immediate need for a text
Okay.
alert in that situation. But what we try to do is follow up with more information that would go out in a blast email so that
Right.
students would be aware of it.
Everybody know that this happened on such and such a date. Yeah.
And as far as the notification, it's a process that we're still reviewing and trying to tweak to make sure that we can make sure that our student and university community is fully informed as far as what's going, so they can take the necessary precautions.
One last thing I wanted to talk to you about before I get you out of here is body cams. Does UofL police have body cams or about to get them? Where are you in that process?
Well, we're in a second phase of a second project, if you want to call it that. We initially had purchased body cams, and we're in the process of implementing them, but there were some difficulties in terms of the product itself because this is a relatively new field and with a lot of products that are available. So we ran into a lot of problems, found out that it was just not going to be tenable in terms of using the cameras, so we began to search anew. And I'm happy to say that we now have a new product. We have full support from that company, and we hope to have those implemented by the 1st of next month.
Oh, very good. So October then.
October, we'd like to see them out and have every officer equipped so that we can begin capturing all the information as far as what occurs.
Very good. Bottom line message for students, faculty, and staff on the U of L campus about safety?
As far as safety is concerned, just be aware that this is one of the safest campuses. We don't have a lot of crime here, so you can feel relatively safe moving around. But the key thing is still remain observant because we are always have to be cognizant of the fact that we're in an urban area.
Yes, we are. All right. Major Erin Graham, good to see you, always. Christian Bush is a senior at U of L, and he's also a prestigious McConnell Scholar, which, as it turns out, has allowed him to travel the world a bit as part of the McConnell Scholars program. And he's here with us to talk about his experiences at U of L. Christian, good to see you.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
All right. So you are a senior at U of L. I guess we ought to say what a McConnell Scholar is. Why don't you explain to folks what a McConnell Scholar is?
Sure. The McConnell Scholarship is a program given to 10 freshmen every year, and then so there's about 40 scholars in the program at a time. It's a program that emphasizes liberal education, engagement in the community, leadership, and of course travel as well.
And it's free tuition, right?
Yes, sir.
which
Yes,
is the best part of the package, right? Isn't that pretty good?
Yeah.
So you've had your college career basically paid for as a McConnell Scholar.
Essentially, I've
pretty
been
much.
very fortunate to have this opportunity.
Yeah, you have had a heck of an opportunity, and you've been doing some traveling. So tell us where you've been.
Well, over the summer, I went to China for a study abroad program, and then I went to Bulgaria for an archaeological dig. So I was in both countries for about a month, and
Wow.
it was a very quick turnaround. I left Shanghai at midnight and then arrived in Bulgaria the next day.
So you flew from China to Bulgaria?
Yep.
Oh, jeez. So what was that like going from China to Bulgaria?
It was
in 24 hours.
It was definitely immediate culture shock because I studied Chinese, and Chinese culture, but I've never really taken a close look at Bulgaria. So once you get off the plane, you see Cyrillic characters, and I mean, you see people who are Bulgarian and they have kind of a very serious demeanor, and whenever they speak Bulgarian, it sounds all very serious. But it was definitely a big culture shock.
So is Bulgarian a language, or do they speak German or something else there?
Bulgarian is a language that's inspired by Russian, but they have I think there's 3 different characters in the Bulgarian alphabet than Russian, so they take great pride in the fact that they do not speak Russian. They speak Bulgarian there.
All right, well, let's talk about China. You were there for a month, you said, right? Mm-hmm. Just in Shanghai?
No, we started in Beijing. We went to Xi'an and Shanghai were our 3 major bases, but then we also did side excursions to Yan'an, which was the base of the communists during World War II. We also went to Pingyao, which is a historical city, and then some other side excursions.
So what were your takeaways as a 21-year-old from Louisville, Kentucky? What were your takeaways on the trip to China?
I mean, it's very, very different from the U.S. I mean, the student life is very different. The students they're very dedicated. And that's not to say that we're not dedicated, but it's in a way wherever it's a singularity of purpose on their studies. They don't really question what they're learning or grapple with the material as much as we do. The transportation there is fantastic. I think it's definitely something that the U.S. needs to look into more. Like, everything's cheap, everything's clean and efficient. And, I mean, the food's fantastic as well. Like, you can't get better Chinese food in the U.S. than you can whenever you're over there.
Well, of course not. You said the students had a singularity of purpose when they were studying. I've been in some classrooms with McConnell Scholars where you guys have some pretty hefty debates about politics and world affairs. Did you not find that when, I assume you were at a university, in a university setting in China, did you not find any of that when you were there?
Well, at some level, it's very hard to engage with students, especially being there for only a month, which sounds like a good chunk of time, but it's hard to engage with students on a Chinese campus whenever they're kind of invested in their own schedule and their own mindset about it. I think one of the students actually said to my friends, in America, you talk to your teachers like they're your friends, whereas in China, it's much more of like a hierarchical relationship. If the teacher says, do this, you do it, and that's how you learn.
Right. All right. We're talking with Christian Bush, who's a senior at the University of Louisville, and he's a McConnell Scholar, been around the world a little bit. Then you went to Bulgaria. What were you doing in Bulgaria? An archaeological dig?
Yeah, I was. I think whenever we're all young, we look at Indiana Jones and we want to kind of figure it out. I've been a history major for all of my college career, but I've never got to do that hands-on experience. So I figured since this was the summer after my junior year, this was my last chance to really branch out and try something new. So I signed up and went from doing absolutely nothing to, I think, being a pretty good team player on this dig site.
And what were you digging for?
We were digging in a necropolis, which is like kind of an ancient burial ground, and it spans from ancient Greece all the way through Byzantium, which is up through the
Miles
year.
and miles and miles, yes. And did you find anything? Were you using a little brush to pick out some teeth of some skull or something? Or
Yeah, we
cool?
used the brushes. We used some pickaxe. I was digging in a ritual pit called a bathros, which is a big fancy word, but it's essentially where you take the burned remains of a ritual after you do a sacrifice, and you kind of throw it in. You also toss in your lunch, I suppose. So I was digging through these animal bones. I found a coin, a preserved dagger that had been there. So, found a lot of cool stuff, and then lots of bones.
So you come back from these two experiences, and what do you tell people you learned from being in China and Bulgaria?
Oh gosh, I definitely learned, first of all, to be flexible. Whenever you're traveling, stuff will go wrong and nothing will ever go according to plan. So always just kind of take a deep breath. Don't be afraid to try new things. I was kind of a picky eater before I left, and now I'll pretty much eat anything. And also just kind of, taking in other people's cultures and just being sympathetic and empathetic and not really trying to force yourself upon them, but rather being open, I think is really what I took away from it.
Also, Christian Bush got an opportunity as part of the McConnell Scholars program to talk to, there were about 30 Army folks in town. They're still in town in the month of September. And it's part of the Army Strategic Broadening Seminar that the McConnell Center is hosting. Tell us about that experience last week.
Yeah, last week we did a negotiating simulation at the Galt House, wherever we were given a scenario out of the Cold War that had to do with like heightened tensions between the U.S. and USSR on the high seas, and half the room got to be the Soviets and half the room got to be the U.S. and you're given this scenario and a set of priorities to try and work out a solution to this problem. And it was really interesting working kind of civilians with military and seeing our own perspectives and our own take on what our interests are, what our strategy needs to be.
So that was kind of cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was a lot of fun.
Being in the room with a bunch of the Army folks, right? Mm-hmm. Did you find yourself out of place at all, or did they treat you with respect and value your opinion, or did they say, that kid doesn't know what he's talking about, he's not in the Army?
I think initially it was made me a little nervous walking because they were in their combat fatigues, whereas I'm kind of walking around in a polo and khakis. But I think once you start talking to them, you realize they're people just like you and I. They like to go out, they like to talk sports and talk politics or whatever. So then after that, and then once we started collaborating in that team environment, we all decided we wanted to win or get the best deal out of it. And then I guess that brought us together a lot. And
all right, last question. You're a senior. What are you going to do when you graduate?
Oh gosh, right now I'm applying for Fulbright to go teach English in Macau. And then barring that, I've also considered grad school or law school, or just teaching English, not in a Fulbright capacity, but teaching in China.
Well, you've come to Fulbright University, the University of Louisville. The chances are pretty good you might get one and be going on a Fulbright scholarship. So good luck to you. Thanks for listening to UofL Today with Mark Hebert, and go Cards.